go. Hello, Emil. How are you
Hi,
doing?
Elisaveta. Great, thanks. You?
I'm very good. Very excited to have you here, our very first global talent guest of our new podcast. So, video podcast. We are very excited to have you here. And thank you for joining in. You're in the UK right now, right?
I'm currently in London.
How is the weather? Is it horrible, how everyone says?
Well, it's quite sunny, but yes, today and yesterday it is 0 degrees. It's quite low temperature for London. That's why everybody is getting cold and it's very difficult to go outside the office.
Let's time travel to your story, to the moment when you were back home and you thought about getting the global talent visa. That was last year. Or maybe before that. Tell me your story. How did you come to actually wanting to apply for it and considering it?
Well, I can tell you the story. Actually, it was quite accidental. To start with, I should say that I was living in digital nomad lifestyle for a couple of years since the beginning of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And that time, when I firstly have heard about that visa, there was a couple of my friends who have received it, but they were really outstanding guys. One of them is vice president in some Singapore startup. Another one is a serial entrepreneur. And I was thinking, oh, wow, they are so talented guys. So they really should receive it. And I am just an ordinary product manager and enterprise. So why should I receive global talent visa and just postpone this idea until I accidentally was at Bali in some villa with some top manager of one of the agencies who are providing cases for global talent. And we become like good mates, and he have told me a lot about the processes inside the company, what is the level of candidates that have successful endorsements, what services the company provide to their candidates to help them to boost their portfolio, for example, and all of the stuff that really inspired me that such guys as me have good chances to receive this visa. He recommended me definitely to have a consultation. He didn't actually promote his own company. He just tell you can choose any on the market. And I have done a little research, and I have found 5 agencies that provide such services in the market, in the Russian market, and have had consultation with some of them. But also we had a consultation with you. Maybe you remember that time, even several of them, as far as I remember. And I decided to choose EP Advisory as the agency who I would like to continue working with. So I think that was my game-changing point. And to add some more context about the situation, why I say that it was accidental. At that time, I was living in Bali, but I was thinking that it is definitely not my destination country. I always wanted to move somewhere to the Western Europe, for example. And I thought that the only possible way to do this, most common and widespread, is to find a job offer with a relocation pack. And a lot of my friends have done this, but to tell the truth, most of them are software engineers. And for software engineers, it's, I think, maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like it's more easier because there is no bias according which country are they from. And as I can see on the Western market, it's quite important to the employer to have manager to be the local one to understand the culture, how should he or she communicate with the employees and so on. That's why it was quite difficult for me to find a job via LinkedIn. I have tried a lot, and it was job with relocation was quite difficult to find. Some remote positions were okay, but I was not happy with them. That's why I tried a lot, and finally I decided to postpone this idea as well, and just went to have some chilly time in Bali. And after that, this story with global talent and with this guy from that company have has appeared, and I was happy that all of the circumstances were like this, and I have known about this. I also think that I was quite upset that I didn't know about this visa and these opportunities 3 years ago, maybe even before I started like digital nomad lifestyle. I should try to apply for the endorsement, and I suppose I also will have. I also at that time can have the same portfolio, so it should be a good chance.
that imposter syndrome and generally assessing, let's say, assessing your case and thinking if you have the chance. I would say 90% of all of our clients are like, probably there's like, I don't know, Oscar winners, which is true for actors. You have to be Oscar winner actually to apply, but for tech professions and actually also for scientists. And it's not the bar as long as you qualify for certain criteria. You cannot get the visa if you're working for a law firm. There are certain things, but if you qualify with a major kind of requirements, it's very fascinating product for me, because I get to see how we open up that person and be like, he's like, oh wow, that's so cool. Like when you look at the documents, we're like, I've done that, and then we start talking. What about this? Have you ever done it? Yeah, sure. My product I worked on got an award, but it wasn't my award. But you were working on that product. I was working on that product, and that's how the whole kind of chain starts working. Because I think imposter syndrome, especially for, let's say, our side of the world, it's a very big thing. I think for Western side is a little bit easier, but still I even can see it from my American clients who are like, well, I'm not sure, I don't know if I can get it. And then the client shows me like 7 personal awards they received in the last 3 years, and you're like, so yeah, that's very cool. Imposter syndrome is definitely there. And for you to write all these documents, because global talent in the UK, they have very strict requirements. You have only 15 documents. You have to have them very structured in a way compared to, let's say, US. We spoke with the agency that does US visas, and it's 150 pages. It could be, or 300 pages. It could be anything there. But the UK is very structured, very precise, no more than 3 pages for technician, etc. How was it for you with those documents? Were there any surprises? Were there any interesting why we're doing it like this?
Oh, well, actually, when I was just start thinking about this process, I thought that maybe it will be possible just to have a couple of consultations and just to tell you the story of your life in an oral way and maybe send some voice messages with some details, and it will be enough. Well, unfortunately, I was mistaken at that time that I should also do great work to provide all of the information about all of my life, all of the spheres that I have was involved in to the editors, to your agency.
Yeah,
And then they will have another great part of work to process all of it, to come back with some detailed questions and so on. And I remember very nice that time. It was the same time when I started working in one of companies, and it was onboarding period, very tight schedule, and right after the work, instead of sleeping, I was preparing all of the documents. But to be honest, it was a very rapid process, and we have prepared 80% in 2 weeks. So it was very intensive 2 weeks, but after that, I got some rest after that.
Very good. It's true. And I think a lot of the times it's important to know for, since the moment you've applied, quite a few things changed. Even technically, in the past, you could just upload all the documents and technician would then decide which documents go for which criteria. Since then, now there is a different way. So you actually allocate the documents yourself to the criteria and then you upload them in a separate sections. So I think this also impacted the way we work with clients now, because we have to sit there and say, OC1 innovation, what are we having? What kind of innovative thing? And a lot of times, I remember for your case as well, you have all very often innovation and impact overlapped, because you've made something innovative, and whether you want it or not, it has an impact on the company, on the industry, generally on the market, etc. So it's also one of the type of work that we do and we work with your information is actually thinking strategically, where can we place better the, let's say, the project, because some people have more evidence for innovation but let's say not enough for impact, then we would put all into one basket to get this criteria for sure confirmed. Some people needed them distributed, so then we strategically look at projects and be like, oh, do we put it in this basket or this, or how we do it. But remember, with you it was a lot of questions and comments, but honestly, we love it. For us, this is the best kind of way. So if you're listening and if you are thinking to start working with us, we love clients who ask more questions, because there is nothing worse than preparing the whole document pack. And in the end, the client is like, oh, I also remembered in 2019, I did this and this, and I remember this. And you're like, oh, now we have to, because the documents, they work together. So like what you mentioned, your CV has to be in your letters of recommendation, and it has to be proved in evidence. So if there is a piece missing, it impacts the whole thing. So that's why it's actually great. I laughed how it worked, and it was fast and intense, but you got the result. Do you remember how it felt to get the message that you got the endorsement, and where you were? Like, do you remember the day?
Well, actually, I suppose I was at Tbilisi at that
Mm-hmm.
time because it wasn't possible to apply from Bali. I remember the day I was working, I suppose, or maybe I was even on the call, and I received the call from you. I declined it because I was on another call, and you just text me like, Emil, let's not wait until another opportunity to have a call. I just want to provide you a great news that you received an endorsement. And I was very, maybe not surprised because I was mentally prepared for the fact that we should definitely receive it, but I was very happy. That meant for me that 2 months of waiting the result actually finish, and we have this great stage one result, and I was very happy, definitely, yeah.
So it took 2 months to get the endorsement decision, right? I think it was eight weeks, right? Or 9 weeks, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Mhm. And then you applied for visa. How fast was the stage two appointment for you?
It was as well 2 months. Actually, I have applied for some option like premium or some
Mm-hmm.
booster. I don't remember the name. They said that it should be done in a couple of 1 or 2 weeks, maybe. The lawyer that I have working with have told me that there is no sense, and the time will be the same as for all other guys because they deprioritize Russian citizens. And but I decided to try it. It has costed me, I don't remember, not so much money, and I decided to try, but it still was 2 months. And also there was a shared Google spreadsheet with the guys who are tracking the
I
process,
remember
and I
that.
have compared with others at that time, and all of them have something about 2 months
Mm-hmm.
with with Russian passports. Why applying outside the UK? Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
important.
Not switching. And then you have 3 months to enter into the UK. How did it work for you? Did you just pack your stuff and straight away went, or like, did you go?
Yes, I have bought the closest ticket on Saturday and just fly here.
Obviously, arriving in the UK. Have you ever been to the UK before?
Well, yes, but it was 10 years ago, so I don't remember so much about that period.
How were you preparing for the trip? Obviously, finding the flat or the hotel, or how the tube works and everything. What were the org things that you did before? Because there's a lot of admin things like registering with GP and finding the flat and everything else. How did it work for you?
Well, to tell the truth, I was quite lucky guy in that moment that I had a friend of mine here, and we were living together with him at university times in the same dormitory. And when he knew that I have received the visa, he said that, "Oh, Emil, I'm looking for a flatmate,
Hmm.
and my contract has finished. Let's live together as we have done 5 years ago." I said that it should be a great idea, and he have done all of this operational stuff as finding a flat, signing the contract, providing his payment documents, because at that time I had to work outside the UK, and our reference check hasn't approved my source of income, which was outside the UK. And he have done all of the stuff, and when I just arrived, it was our first day rent, so I was just moving to the new flat, and was happy that I have missed all of this operational preparation.
I can imagine. And then what happens? You move to the UK, decided to look for a job, or what happens after?
Yeah, plan was that I can move to UK, spend 1 or 2 months for adaptation, and then started finding a new job. And I hoped that I will have more chance because the global talent provide a work permit. So I won't require some visa sponsorship, some relocation pack, bonus, and so on. And I should be considered as other UK employees on the market. But it gave some results at the time. Some recruiters from big corporations have contacted me on LinkedIn when I set the London location on LinkedIn and written down that I am global visa talent holder. I suppose it definitely helped, but still I didn't succeed in receiving an offer. Maybe because of me, maybe because I'm still foreigner for them. So I have continued working in my company, my remote company. Luckily, I had enough money for living in such an expensive city, but still everything was okay. And when I decided to again postpone the process of finding a new job, accidentally one London company have contacted me on LinkedIn and invited me to have some interviews. And finally, I am here. 2 months ago, I agreed to join the company.
What is your job title?
I'm a technical product manager. I'm responsible for the billing team.
And what does the company do?
I'm working currently at Willy. Willy is a ride-hailing premium ride-hailing service.
Wow, cool. Very cool. LinkedIn is actually an interesting place, right? I think it's so undervalued, but even for global talent application, like the LinkedIn, your referees LinkedIn is so important. And like even changing the location or adding global talent thing actually usually gives you good results. So that's a tip for our listeners. Make sure that you are active on LinkedIn. One thing I want to note, articles on LinkedIn, if you publish articles on LinkedIn itself or on Medium, they don't count towards media recognition for global talent visa. But any kind of activities that you do on LinkedIn will boost your generally personal brand. And if you regularly post, you can get more followers, maybe a badge of top voice or something like that. So that's also very important. And of course, you'll get job offers. We have loads of clients who, after receiving global talent visa, got offers in the UK. That's for sure. It helps. I cannot say that it's an absolute game changer. We have people who didn't get the job offers after receiving global talent visa. Like you said, I think it really depends on so many things. For example, product marketing, it's a very people oriented work as opposed to engineers where they don't have to communicate so much. But for the product manager roles or any, like you said, any leadership roles, they actually want you to be a very confident communicator. And also, but you worked for big companies before, like international companies. But unfortunately, at the moment, we are also going through a massive tech layoffs, and this impacts also the recruitment process. So it's not just you, it's also them why you couldn't find the job, because honestly it was really insane since October last year. So many tech layoffs. We've been trying to keep track of all the layoffs. At one point it was like 300,000 people across the biggest companies. And of course, if you make an application from, let's say, non-UK or non-European company, and someone from Meta applies at the same time with you that's been fired or made redundant, nothing you can do really. It's really the case. So but I think global talent definitely increases your chances because it just becomes much easier for a company to hire you. But unfortunately, in tech, the competition is absolutely crazy at the moment. So it's definitely like this. Do you have any tips or maybe any advice to people who are preparing their global talent case right now, or like thinking about moving to the UK? Both could be.
Well, maybe I can tell you some tips for both of the groups that you have mentioned. For those who are thinking if UK and London is a good location, I can definitely say that is maybe underestimated, because I have heard a lot of not so much positive feedback, and maybe I have heard even negative feedback. And when I came here, I was quite surprised that everything is amazing. Not maybe not everything, but almost everything. I'm quite happy with a lot of things here. And even after 1.5 years spending here, I'm still quite happy with this city and this location, people around me. So London is a good choice, I suppose. And tips for those who are preparing documents right now or maybe thinking about it. Well, I suppose free consultation is definitely the thing that you should try. Maybe it will increase your motivation in trying this opportunity. And maybe one more thing that I should mention, fun fact or something like that. A lot of people that I know here who have already have skilled work visa that allow them to work with their employer here, they are still making global talent visa to be safe in this period of layoffs. Firstly, secondly, some of them are thinking about moving their career path to employers and to startups, and some of them have already done this. And to be honest, I'm thinking about it. And global talent visa is the document that could allow you to do this and not be
attached
to your employer, right?
100%. And I think the beauty is definitely protects you to stay in the UK, because what happens is if you've been laid off, you're waiting for the letter from the Home Office. As soon as you get the letter, you have 2 months to depart, find another employer, depart. But it takes a little longer. So usually it's like 4 months, but still it's a very tight time, especially now. But also, I think with global talent, the beauty of it almost equals the indefinite leave to remain. So you have every the rights, the same. You can do pretty much anything you want. If you want to study tomorrow, you can study. If you want to do consulting, you can do consulting. If you want to open 5 different startups and be investor, you can do that too. And it doesn't matter if you're a product manager, entrepreneur, if you are working and you had a startup on the side, which is often the case for us and our clients too. It's just a brilliant visa to not be restricted, because even on a startup visa or investor innovator visa, you're still restricted with the activities that you can do, because you have to be that category. But with global talent, it's pretty much anything, and there is no cap on the number of visas that they issue. And you still look at the numbers and you think there's not so many numbers there, how many visas they issue. But I think we have really high, obviously we don't take everyone else, we have really high success rate. And the reason is because we really vigorously assess the case, and we say, here you have the chance, here you don't. And if you don't, we actually tell you what to do in the next 12 months to improve it. So it's not a no forever. You can change that situation and you can come back later and apply for it again. I don't have much more questions to you. That was actually very inspiring, and I think lots of tips for our listeners. And hopefully you find something. If you have any questions, drop a question here. If Emil will allow, I will leave his LinkedIn profile also in the description, and then you can connect with Emil. Maybe you have some questions or you just want to network. That would be really good. And thank you so much, Emil.